Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing some of my top picks from UNIQLO's Spring Summer collection, as well as some pieces that I would personally avoid. UNIQLO has been one of my favorite brands for years now because it's one of those stores where you can get really great basics at quite affordable prices and often made from natural fibers. However, not everything is great and some pieces are definitely better than others. So in this video, I'm going to show you what is actually worth your money and what I would personally skip. As always, this video is not sponsored. I purchased everything with my own money, so you're getting my completely honest opinion. And let's get into the try on. The first piece I want to show you is this Pointelle cardigan, which actually comes with a matching top. This is made from 98% cotton and 2% of elastin for a bit of stretch. And of course, the main feature here is the beautiful Pointelle detailing. However, what's odd is that it is not really visible from afar. You have to really get up close to actually appreciate it. In terms of construction, I would say this is mostly good. The stitching and the seams were all very neat. The buttonholes were a bit messy though, but again, at this price point, I am not complaining. So yeah, I think this is overall a great option if you're looking for an affordable Pointelle cardigan. Next up is this red short sleeve sweater, and unlike the previous piece, the Pointelle detail on this one is much more visible. You can really appreciate the texture and the detailing even from afar. And also, this one is made from 100% cotton, but because it's knitted, it still has some natural elasticity to it. Construction-wise, it's pretty much the same story. It's good for the price. Personally, I'm not a fan of how the puff sleeves look on me, so I won't be keeping this, but I still think this is a great option if you like the style. Moving on, I have this short sleeve blouse, and at first glance, I thought I was really going to like this piece, but after trying it on, I'm not so convinced anymore. But let's start with a positive. This blouse is made from 100% cotton, and it's made with this beautiful cotton dobby fabric, which creates these tiny woven dots throughout the fabric. And I also appreciate the amount of details they've included here. For example, you have gathered seams along the hem and the sleeves, ruffled button placket and bubble trims. And construction-wise, I would say it's pretty much what I expected for the price. Yes, I did saw a few loose threads here and there, and the seams are serged, which I don't love because they tend to be more prone to fraying over time, but at this price point is usually what you would expect. Now, the reasons why I'm not fully convinced on this blouse is first, the fit. I just find it a bit too boxy around the waist and kind of unflattering, at least on my frame. And second, the sheerness. This is way too sheer, at least for my liking. Even when wearing nude underwear, you can still see my bra through it. So personally, I wouldn't recommend this particular colorway unless you really don't mind the sheerness. Otherwise, I would rather opt for one of the darker colors instead. Moving on, I have this tiered maxi skirt, which actually comes in 3 different lengths, and I picked the tall length. And for reference, I'm 5'8" or 173 centimeters tall, and this fits like a true maxi skirt on me. This skirt is made from a cotton crepe fabric, which has this slightly crinkled texture, and it also gives it kind of like a light, airy feel and more movement than regular cotton. Construction-wise, it's pretty much in line with what I expected. Yes, it has serge seams, which I don't love, but overall the stitching and the seams are pretty neat, and they also have added bar tags at the pockets for extra reinforcement. And speaking of pockets, this skirt does have them. I know this is something a lot of people specifically look for. Personally, I tend to avoid pockets in these types of pieces because they can sometimes create bulk or show through the fabric, which is the case for this skirt because the top layer is so thin. The pocket bags are slightly visible, but it's not that bad. Thankfully, the skirt is not see-through because it's fully lined. However, the lining is made entirely from polyester. And if you ask me, that kind of defeats the purpose of having a skirt in such a breathable material like cotton in the first place. I really wish they would have used viscose for the lining instead, because it's much more breathable than polyester and it would have made much more sense for a summer skirt. Moving on, I wanted to give UNIQLO's built-in bra tops a second chance because they seem to be favorites for so many people. And I actually own one of these tops in a tank top style, and as I mentioned before, I'm not a huge fan of this, mostly because the bra section is made from pure polyester, and at least in summer where I live, I just find it way too suffocating. So this time I decided to try their Aerism version because this line is supposed to feel lightweight and it's designed to be sweat wickening. So I wanted to see if I could actually feel a difference. However, I cannot really tell a difference between them. They feel pretty much the same to me. If anything, if I had to choose one of them, I would probably still go for the tank top because at least in this one, the top layer is made from cotton, whereas on the t-shirt, it's made entirely from synthetics. That said, I do understand why these tops are so popular. They're definitely practical, and if you don't live somewhere with very hot and humid summers, or maybe you're just not as sweaty as I am, because at this point I think that might be the issue, I think these tops are great. One thing I would recommend though, if you're planning on purchasing this particular t-shirt, is to avoid the white version because the bra section is a bit visible, but I don't think this will be a problem with darker colors. And also I would size up because I picked this up in my usual size small and I find it just a bit too tight around the chest and the arms, so I would definitely size up. Next, I tried a couple of their linen pieces, and let's start with my favorite, which is this pair of shorts. These are actually made from a cotton linen blend, and I picked them up in the color of white, and as you would expect, they are slightly see-through, and interestingly, they are partially lined. The lining, it's only at the back, which I do appreciate because that offers more coverage, but I do wish they have carried the lining to the front because the pocket bags are slightly visible, and I think a lining could have contrasted that. One thing I really like about these shorts is the waistband design. It is elasticated at the back for comfort, but the front remains flat, which gives the shorts a much more polished look. And construction-wise, I would say it's also pretty good for the price. All the stitching and the seams were very neat. They also have added bar tags at stress points, and the button was nicely reinforced. They have used a YKK zipper, and you even get a replacement button. So yeah, overall I think these are great for the price and I would definitely be keeping them. Now, unfortunately, I cannot say the same thing about this top. This is marketed as a linen blend, but I was surprised to find out that it only has 33% of linen, with the rest being viscose and polyamide. So I do find the name somewhat misleading because I expected a much higher linen content. And my first impression of the fabric was not great either. I understand that this is designed to be a lightweight top, but the fabric is so thin, it just feels flimsy. Construction-wise, this is actually not bad. The stitching is very neat and straight. They have added bar tags at stress points and the seams are nicely enclosed. However, those details aren't enough to make up for the fabric, in my opinion. If you're looking for linen tops specifically, I would actually recommend their linen shirts. These are made from 100% linen and they wash and wear very well. This one is actually from my husband, and one thing I do like about these shirts is that the seams are nicely enclosed, which is quite rare for a shirt at this price point because most fast fashion brands will just use serge seams. So that is bonus points for UNIQLO. I mean, obviously this is not made from the highest quality linen out there, and Some colors can be slightly see-through, but for the price, I think their linen shirts are a great option. And finally, I have these jeans from the JW Anderson collection. These are a true straight leg pair of jeans. I picked them in the waist 26 and the length 31, and the length fits perfectly on me, but I do find they run slightly big. Now, these are made from 100% cotton, which is great, and when it comes to denim, I generally try to stay within that 98 to 100% cotton range because it tends to offer more durability. Now, the denim itself is lighter weight than I would normally go for, but given that this is part of their spring collection, the fabric choice does make sense. Now, if we look into the hardware, you get a YKK zipper and an engraved button, which are nice details. I also noticed that the bar tags at the back pockets are nicely reinforced from the inside. However, I was surprised to find no rivets, which is something you would normally expect on jeans for extra durability. Another thing that I noticed is that the stitching isn't particularly dense or thick, especially if I compare it to some of my other jeans. And generally speaking, a denser stitching is something you want to look for because it tends to hold up better over time. Now, obviously the construction isn't amazing, but for the price, I do think these are pretty decent and they are quite comfortable. So if you're looking for a pair of straight leg jeans made from 100% cotton, I do think that these are a decent option. So that was everything I picked up from UNIQLO's Spring Summer collection. Let me know in the comments which were your favorite pieces, or if you've tried anything else from this collection that is worth checking out. I would love to know. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you very soon in my next one.